Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. I'm just going to wait a couple moments and allow people to join in, but we'll get started shortly. Please feel free if you have any questions. You can use the audience chat or the Q&A. My colleague John is here to assist with any of your questions. We'll just give it a couple more moments here and then we'll get started, okay? All right. So I'm going to get started now, and as people come in, they can join in a little bit late. That'll be all right. So hello, welcome. My name's Nick. I'm one of the training specialists here at Gravity, and I'm going to be going over text formatting today. So in regards to that, what we're going to cover is we're going to cover the style setup and formatting sheet. We'll go through print previews of both editor and spreadsheet objects. I'll show you how we're able to edit both of these documents. And lastly, we'll go over named ranges, which is something that we'll have to do in order to create a print preview of a spreadsheet, followed up with report generation. So with that being said, if we want to take a look in your report, if you're following along at the same time, inside of your supporting documents or administration, you're going to have a spreadsheet called text formatting and style setup. So this is actually the sheet that shows us the different areas in which we're able to control what appears within the document. Okay. So once you have it open, you're going to see that in column C, and it could be a different column for you. However, you're going to notice that it's going to say the style name. So down the style names, we'll see that we have different heading options, we have different body options, list bullets, list numbering, and then character styles. Now, in order to achieve these styles, we need to be paying attention from column D to column K. And these are the rules that we need to follow in order to achieve these styles. So you're probably wondering, why do we do it this way, right? Why is everything controlled on a style setup sheet or a text formatting sheet as opposed to us being able to do what we want in our report? As you know, I'm sure there's situations where some of you have, 50, 60 people working in your report at a time. So if I'm working in my intersection, maybe John's working in the financial section, and maybe my eyes aren't quite as good as John's, and I'm typing in a font size 12. He's typing in a font size 9. Perhaps I prefer Times New Roman, and he prefers Arial. And we're going through and we're finally done our report, and then we decide that we want to generate it. We generate the report and we can see there's no unity throughout the different sections, right? There's no way for them to look the exact same without us using these style setup sheets. So all of this is done in the back end, okay? So these different style setup sheets are controlled by InDesign, which are created by the implementation team, and then they're loaded into Gravity. So this isn't all you have available to you, right? You're going to have different options than I have in your report. And if you have multiple reports in Gravity, chances are that those different reports may differ from your ACVR to your budget book, depending on what needs to be shown within your report specifically. So if you had wanted additional, say I needed a heading 5, right? You are able to reach out to support and they're able to create additional styles for you and put them into these style setup sheets or these formatting sheets for you. This sheet alone has no impact on it. Okay. This is a static file just showing you what's available. So if I were to change heading 1 to be font size 17 in this area, and I change the alignment to right, it's still going to be 14 and left. So all that's been done is we've just changed these and it's made it so it's confusing on what the real rules are to achieve that style. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit about something that would be formatted. So if I open up this letter of transmittal here, this is just a mock one I made up, but I'm going to go ahead and generate a print preview of it. Now, for those of you not familiar, what a print preview is it's a generation of a single object within the report. As you know, generating the report, depending on how many objects you have in your report, can take a long amount of time. So if we want to see what one specific document will look like, it's easier to generate a print preview. We can do that by clicking on the three dots, going down to generation, and then clicking on print preview. I'm going to leave apply auto styles on, and I'll leave these two off, and I'll click open. This is going to start generating a PDF version of this single object, okay? And once it's done, we'll be able to see and review the different styles and how they look. So now that this is generated, we can see that it looks pretty much similar to this object here, right? But we have a few different things, right? We have a little bit more spacing in between. We have this header and footer on the bottom throughout our report, and we can see that it's formatted, right? So if I was to want to format something from scratch, I'd need to go ahead and follow these different formatting styles. Now, in order for us to do that, I've actually copied the letter of transmittal and I have an unformatted version here. So I'd like to go ahead together and we can create this together, okay? So what I'm gonna do is the first thing I'm gonna note is I wanna change January 21st, 2026 in order for it to look like the one that appears on this transmittal letter. So if I click in this area, I can see it's a font size 12, bold, and the alignment's center, right? So this is useful when you're creating different areas in your report that will look like other areas. You can always click on them, see what styles are being used, and then review them on the text formatting sheet. So as we saw, it was font size 12, bold and centered, which lets me know it's heading to center. So I can go ahead now and I can change this. You do need to keep in mind, if I highlight just like this and start to change it, it looks like it's working, right? But we actually need to grab the space afterwards as well. So if I go like this and I highlight that space afterwards, it will begin to format correctly. An easier way to do this is if I triple left click on this area, it grabs that space for me. So I'll go ahead and start changing this to 12, bold, and then I just need to click on the more options here to change the alignment to the middle. We can now see that that looks the exact same. The next one, we can see it's also 12 bold, but the alignment isn't to the center, it's kept left, so we'll keep that one. The next area, we'll notice that it's going to be font size 10. So this, if I go to my text formatting area, I can see that this is body text, right? So in order for me to do body text, I'll need to apply a font size of 10, and I'll need to set it to justify. So I'll go back to my letter of transmittal here, set it to 10, and justify. Now that I've changed that, we do notice that there is a space here where there isn't here. If I wanted to visually be able to see that space, I can click on the line and paragraph spacing and add a space before the paragraph. Please keep in mind that you are able to ask questions during this using the audience chat or Q&A, and John will be able to assist you with that. The next area, I can see that it's actually still body text, but it's set to an indentation. So if I wanted to apply that indentation, I can triple click on this entry and I can change it to font size 10. And then we want to use this decrease or increase indent button. The reason being is some people will apply indentation using 5 spaces. Perhaps they use the tab button. We want to make sure we're using this area to keep that consistency. Again, I'm going to add a space before to make sure that they're separated. Next, if I wanted to change the introductory, you can see that we actually have a numbered list. And if I come down inside my text formatting sheet, we can see we get to numbered lists here, and then we also have list bullet levels, okay? So you may have only 2 list bullets or 2 list numbering, and you may have more than I have. It's all based on what your report, how implementation would have set it up from the previous version. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this entry, change it to font size 10, and then I want to apply that list numbering. So I can do that by clicking on numbered list, and you can see it automatically indents it to be list numbering level 1. I'm then going to apply that space before. The next area, we can note that it is a bulleted list. So if I want to apply a bulleted list to something, I can double click it and apply that bulleted list. So you notice that we only have the bulleted list level 1. If I wanted to see, we can see that it's in fact level 2 that we need to apply. So I'll keep this triple clicked and increase the indentation. I do need to change the font size down to 10. So we can continue to do this, applying the different numbered lists and bolded lists to these areas. Oops. And increase the indent, change it to a 10, do the same here. We can continue to add this in, right? Now we are able to copy formatting as well. So if I triple click on this area and I wanted to continue the formatting here, say you're adding formatting throughout several areas, you are able to paint the formatting. And now if I paint over this statistical section, you'll see that it adds it in. So I'll go ahead now, and this next area, we have regular body text for the next 2 entries. So I'll just change these to font size 10. And then I'm just going to apply that add space before again to each of them as well. Now you're going to notice that my numbering is off here. And in order to change that, I am able to continue from previous number. And how I did that was I clicked to ensure that I was copying just the number itself. And then I used the, there was a button there that said continue from previous numbering, which I was able to add in so that it continued. Now we can see that these 2 documents are looking the same. If we wanted to, we could also separate these as well to ensure that it's correct. And then I can go ahead and generate a print preview of this item. Again, we click on the 3 dots, go to generation, and then print preview. As this is going through, the one thing that I wanted to note was you saw that we had that header and footer with the page number, and we don't have that seen on this document. This is actually controlled by a master page. So if I go down and I go into the properties of the document, under style, you can see that the master page is set to body portrait. So master pages are what control the different areas in our report, whether we have those page numbers, depending on the section. It could have a section title and different designs throughout the report. Now that this is done, I can take a look and we can see that it's generated to be the same as our previous letter of transmittal. So I'm going to close these 3 documents now, and I want to shift our attention to the statement of net position. So if I wanted to take a look at the statement of net position, I can double click and open it. And I've again just created a mock one so that we can go through it together. One thing to note about these different documents is if you're formatting a spreadsheet, you'll notice that these ones do not have an MDFM logo. This one does have an MDFM logo. If I were to try and open this document and try and change anything within it, I'm going to get a protected ranges error. This error applies to any of these with the MDFM logo. And if you are trying to change these, you'll need to click and edit the MDFM import itself. If you have any questions regarding the MDFM import, please reach out to your CSM and they can schedule training with you, or alternatively, we have numerous brochures and videos on our YouTube channel regarding it. Back to the statement of net position, so we can see that we have different areas throughout this. We have different bolds, different indentation levels, some underlines. And if I go ahead and generate it, again, clicking on the three dots, generation, print preview, I'll be able to see how it looks. One thing to note is that if I go to the properties and style, the master page for this one is set to following, but it's going to look the exact same as the one before. What this following feature means is it's going to continuously look in the report until it finds an object that has a master page called out, like the body portrait one we saw earlier, and it will copy that one. Okay. So we can see our statement of net position here. And again, I have an unformatted one that we can go through and format together. So if I wanted to go through and reformat this, we'll see that we have at the top statement of net position. And you'll notice inside of your text formatting area, you may have editor, but as you scroll further down, you get into spreadsheet styles. So we can see that we have two different table heading options. So I have table heading center and table heading. And if I wanted to apply that center, I'd need 11, bold, and centered. So I'll go to my unformatted one and I'm going to go ahead and merge these cells and then change it to 11, bold, and I'm going to change the alignment to centered. So for each of these areas, we'll notice that they're set to font size 9. And if I go down inside of this text formatting area, you can see that I have two different options. So I have table text options for 9 and 7. And chances are you'll have at least two options as well. Now, in the event that you have two different options, it's there for you to be able to save space. Let's say you have a report that, or a spreadsheet that goes to 7 or 8 pages. Perhaps you want to save space and keep it down to 6. You can apply a different font size in order to do that. And in addition to that, you have different options for indentation, right? So if I go back to my formatting area, I'm going to change all of this to be font size 9, like my other area. And then we'll notice also that these were centered and these were set to the right. So I can change that by copying these two areas, going to the more options. And again, I'm going to change these to centered and apply bold to them. And then each of these areas, I'm going to change to the right. Now, you'll notice that some of these are indented and I've left them that way. But I'm going to show you how we can apply the indentation with these ones. So as you saw, these ones were indented. And if I want to apply that indentation, we don't have that increase or decrease indent button. Now, if I want to apply an indent, as seen in the text formatting sheet, we do have to apply spaces. So if I wanted to apply an indentation of level 1, I'd use 2 spaces. Level 2 would be 4 spaces. Level 3 would be 6 spaces. You may have an indentation of level 4, in which case that one would be 8 spaces. Now, again, as I had said, if I want to apply that, I want to apply 2 spaces to each of these. I'm going to apply 3 spaces to this one to show you what happens. 2 spaces, and then this last one was 4 spaces. So as I go through, I can see that the only things I'm missing now are I applied bold to these few. So I'm going to go ahead and apply bold to those. And again, you can just copy them using the Command or Control button and left clicking. And I'll go ahead and make these ones bold. Lastly, we have our footnote, which I'm going to merge these cells as I did previously. And then inside the text formatting area, we can see that a footnote is set to font size 6. If I wanted to take a look at one of my previous spreadsheets, I could see that it was applied to that as well. And I'll change this down to a font size 6. Now, as we go through, we have a few different options in the text formatting. You can see that we have this table decrease empty space. Now, you may or may not have situations in your report where you have rows that don't have any information in order to separate different areas. And these are great to have. However, in an event that perhaps you have a total line that's just pushing to the next line and you want to save a little bit of space so that that doesn't happen, you are able to change these. And it'll be key for you to note the text size in order to use this table decrease empty space. But if I come in here and I'm going to just apply it to this one so you can see what it does, I'll apply that font size of 5. And what's going to happen is it's going to cut the row height in half. Okay, so it'll save a little bit of space. Now, doing that to just one area might not save you enough space, but if you do it to several areas throughout your report, it could push a line up further. Another thing that we're able to do is create those borders. So we can see that I have some borders applied inside of this statement of net position. And if I wanted to apply these borders throughout this other document, I could do that by highlighting the areas that I want to apply. I could then click on the borders option, and you'll notice on that your text formatting sheet, it may say bottom 1, bottom double, perhaps you have bottom 2 or top 2. These are entered from this area here, okay? So when I click on these two, go to borders, we can see we have the black color applied, and then we have the different border options. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which aren't often used, and then double. So I can click on the option I want, and then click on the border. So I'm going to continue to apply that to these areas. Now keep in mind you are also able to paint the format into these areas as well, but you'll see with this separation row, it actually wasn't able to do that. So I'll go ahead and remove that and go back to doing it as I was before. Just saw your question there, Amber. You don't need to have the text formatting sheet open in order for things to save. I'm just have it open right now just for a reference back to it so you can see where I'm getting these styles from. So continue adding the border in. And lastly, we have that option for our bottom double. So again, it's going to be the same thing, but I want to go ahead and change the bottom border to double and apply it. Okay. So if I wanted to go ahead and print preview this object, you'll see if I click on the 3 dots and go down to generation, we have that option for print preview. Now, in order for me to have done this, do have to set up a named range. So I'm going to go ahead and click on data, go down to named ranges, and we can see I have this print area. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to name this test print. Keep in mind that I did keep it as one word. You want to keep it as one word or separate it with an underscore and just ensure that you're not using that space character when naming. I can then click to select my data range, which I'm going to select all of this area here, down to my footnote, click OK, and then done. Now that I've created that named range, I have one already set up. However, I'm going to go into the properties, and under areas, I would have had to select a named range. You'll notice that if I don't have a name range selected, that print preview is not available. Now, all of your spreadsheets in your report should have those created already. However, if you're adding in a new spreadsheet, there probably won't be a named range created. So I can go ahead and set that new test print. And we do have the option to suppress columns or suppress rows. These two are the most notable as they're able to suppress entire rows or entire columns that have zeros the entire way across or down. So useful in those situations. In our situation, it's not actually going to do anything, so I'll leave these off. I'll click Save, and then I can go ahead and click on the 3 dots and do a print preview of this document. I've seen a few people adding questions in the chat. Please feel free to continue adding questions. So now we can see that we have generated the print preview. In this area, do you notice the difference between the space between total deferred outflows and liabilities and total assets and deferred outflows of resources? So remember where we used that font size 5 to reduce the amount of space in half? It's done that in this area, okay? You can see that we have our footnote and our bottom double border. But another thing I want to show you, and another way that we're able to save space, is we're able to actually apply an inset. So you may see an option in your report for table no background inset, and perhaps you have inset more. You can achieve these by changing the background color ever so slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this background color, and I'm just going to apply it in this area here. So I'll go ahead and change the fill color, and I'm going to click on the plus, and 6Fs is always going to be white. And if I change it to 6Fs and an E, it's still white. However, it's going to apply that inset for us. I'll go ahead now and click on the 3 lines and refresh this print preview. So if I continue to scroll down, you'll see the difference between the spacing of the line items here and the spacing of the line items here. So it's a way for you to be able to save space again in your report. If you wanted to be able to push something that wasn't going to the page before, you'd be able to do that. Another thing I wanted to show you about named ranges is you are able to apply non-printable ranges. And I can do that by going to data, named ranges, as we had done earlier. However, I'm going to click a new range, and I'll name this one non-print. I need to select the data entry, and I'm not able to just select a certain area like this. We need to select entire rows or entire columns. So let's say I didn't want to show 2024. I could click OK and then done. I need to go back into the areas portion, go to non-printable ranges, and add that non-printable in. Once I click save, I'll refresh my print preview, and we'll see that 2024 is hidden. So we can see we no longer have that 2024 entry, and that was because of our non-printable range. Gabriel, I see you mentioned you wanted to apply a page break midway through your report. Is there a way to apply that through this style guide? Possibly. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're meaning. So if you wanted to have a blank page in your report and then not have, and then push it to the next page, you are able to do that. So you can insert an editor document and just have it as a blank page. Now, chances are you'll have a scenario where you may have blank pages as a master page, where it could be perhaps it's a logo blank page and it's just the logo there. You could then have that editor document. Let me just create one and show you. So I'll create an editor document that's just called blank page. And then I'll go into the properties of it, into the style, and I'll change the master page to logo blank page. Click save, and then when I generate this, we'll see it's a blank page. Yeah, you would want to do it this way if you're inserting a page break. Alternatively, if you were trying to just push certain items further in your report, say you want a specific area to move forward a page, you would be able to do that using a style setup, like a text formatting. It could be a style involved. Typically, it'll be like something along the lines of it saying "start on new page," and it'll push that text to the next page. But these are the best ways to do that for sure. If you wanted to insert a blank page, would be to add an editor document and just name it blank page, and then apply a logo page to it. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, so the next thing I wanted to go over isn't related to the text formatting and style setup. I wanted to go over how we can generate the report. So we do have the options of generating print previews, as I had shown you earlier. However, we can generate the whole report as well. And before I do that, I'm going to turn a couple of these objects to be not printable, just so that it doesn't take as long for it to generate. So now if I wanted to go ahead and generate a print or generate my report, I do want to go up to the top of the document to the very first folder, click on the three dots. And when I go down to generation, you'll notice we don't have the option for print preview. Instead, we have generate, create snapshot, create PDF for printing. So if I click on the generate option, I'm going to just leave this apply auto styles turned on. I'm going to leave these turned off. I'm going to show you what overlay object links does shortly. However, for the meantime, I'm going to click generate. So it's going to start generating the report and if I wanted to follow along, I can go into the inbox and I can see it generating here. If I click on the eye, I can follow it while it goes through the generation. Once it's finished, I will be able to click on this area, much like I can for these print previews, in order to see that generation of the report. So if I click on it, you can see I have my cover page, my letter of transmittal, my statement of net position, and then a blank page at the bottom. So if I wanted to go ahead and save this in my report for my colleagues to see, I would need to download it. I'll just download it to my desktop. Save it. And then I'd need to upload it into my report. So I'm going to do that by going to Add Child. I'll go down to PDF because it is saved as a PDF. And I'll upload that PDF here. Now, when I upload this PDF, we'll see that it's inside of my report, and then my colleagues would be able to see it. They wouldn't be able to see it in the inbox like I can. A different option we have, which is a far superior option in my opinion, is using the Create Snapshot option. So when I click on Create Snapshot, it's going to immediately prompt me to save it somewhere in my report. So I'll choose the review folder, click Next. You have the option to rename it to something else if you want. Alternatively, you can leave it. This time I'm going to turn on this overlay object links. When I click Create Snapshot, just like generation, it's going to start generating in my inbox. I can still follow it along the same way. However, I won't need to download it and re-upload it as it's going to already be inside of my review folder. While this one's generating, I'm going to go over the third option, which is create PDF for printing. So much like the create snapshot, when I click on it, it's going to prompt me to save it somewhere. But once I click next, it's going to ask me about bleeds and crop marks. So depending on your printer settings, you may need to do this, or if you send your report to a printing company, they may ask you these details on how you want it done. So you'll need to enter these. The reason why I'm not going to generate this create PDF for printing and why you should only use this when it's your last version is because it's getting it ready for printing any designs or colors or images inside of your report. It's going to raster them at a higher quality. And in doing so, it's going to take longer generating. So if you know it's not your final version and you're just going to be reviewing, either generate or create snapshot are the better options. So I'll click out of Create PDF for printing. I can see that my snapshot is finished. And if it's not inside your review folder, you just need to refresh, and then I can see it in there. So we can see that it date stamps it for me, and I can double click to open it. So what I wanted to show you primarily is, remember we turned on that overlay object links, right? And we'll see we have this blue icon here. And as I go through the document that I'm reviewing, right? Perhaps I'm reviewing it with a team, and I only have 4 pages, but perhaps you have 2 or 300. You get to page 134 and you notice you have to make changes to it. Instead of going through your report and trying to find where that document is, you can click on that overlay object link and it will bring you exactly to where that document is in your report. So you'll be able to make the changes quickly and then go back to reviewing your document. Then once you got to another one, you could click on that option as well and start reviewing this one. We are getting to the end of the webinar for today. Please ask any questions that you may have, and we'll do our best to answer them. As I'm going through, another thing that I wanted to show you is inside of the different documents. When I go to the properties, style, you can see that you have the don't start on new page. So this could be another option that if you wanted something to be pushed to the next page, you can use the start on new page option. You also have don't break between pages. So if you had a spreadsheet that you wanted not to be pushed, or you wanted to keep it all together and it was splitting over 2 different pages, you could use the don't break between pages instead of this. I see you have a question, Lori, regarding images in your report, how we could change our pictures. Are you speaking about the pictures within the master pages or the pictures within the drawing objects that look like this icon? Section dividers, absolutely. So if I wanted to change any of the images, so as I see here, for example, my cover page, right? If I go ahead and generate a print preview of this, we can see how it looks, and it'll be the exact same for any section dividers or any other pages in your report that have images. But once I generate this, we're going to see the image it has. So when I'm inside here, we can see we have this image here. If I wanted to change this image, the first thing I need to do is I need to make note of the specific template that my report's using. So again, how I saw that was clicking on the 3 dots, going to properties, and we can see we have ACFR template v4. Now, if I wanted to change that, I need to go to settings, click on templates, and I need to click on the template that I'm using. Once I've clicked on that, I can go over to master page images, where I can find the specific area that I want to change. So in my case, front cover, and you'll see that we have this image here, right? You want to note approximately the same size image before you upload a new one. You can do that by clicking on the pencil and uploading a new image. Now, in this scenario, I don't have an image to upload over top of it, but it would change to that image. If it's not correctly focusing on what you want to show, you are able to reach out to support and they'll be able to shift the image in order to focus on what you're trying to accomplish. However, as long as you're roughly the same size, it should focus where you're trying to. If you notice, for example, pretend this is a divider page, that you have 2 of the same images. It's important that you change both of those images, not just one of them, because it's essentially showing 2 different images depending on if it prints on the left side of the page or the right side of the page. So if you only change one of them, there's a possibility that it doesn't actually change the image depending on which side it generates on. Hopefully that answers your question, Lori. Um, can you demonstrate what compare snapshot accomplishes? Yeah, so if I wanted to do compare snapshot, I can go down to generation, compare snapshots. I'd have to select two snapshots in my report. So I'll just select these two, click next, and then I'll select a destination folder, click next, and then I'll compare. So essentially what happens is it generates both documents side by side, and you'll be able to go through and compare the different sizes. So we can see that we have the different options here. Now, these are the exact same snapshots, so it doesn't really show too much. However, we can see it makes notes here. So the image 16 by 16 was removed from this area, right? As I go through, it'll highlight different areas throughout and give you a yellow sticky note showing you the differences between the two generations. So you just have to make sure that you pick two different reports. As you can see with mine being the exact same, it's not really showing too much. So as I was going over earlier, within the properties of the document under styles, in our last session, we went over, in our object formatting, we went over the different style options, but I wanted to focus a bit more on the master pages. So I've shown you how you're able to change those images. The master pages need to be used depending on which area of your report you're in. So perhaps you may have situations where it's body portrait. Perhaps you have body portrait RSI, body portrait with no headers. You will have a back cover and a front cover, different divider pages, blank pages. Sometimes you're going to have specific body pages for your introductory area or your statistical area. Depends on how your report's built, but just keep in mind that most of these master pages are already applied correctly throughout your report. Implementation would have done that. Whenever you upload a new object into your report, by default, the master page is going to be set to following. So as long as that document should be in that area, chances are it's okay for it to remain as following. The only times you need to be cautious of that are perhaps you have a blank page or a divider page, you insert a document right after, and the master page is set to following. It's going to use that blank page or divider page, master page, as opposed to perhaps the body portrait. So just keep in mind the different master pages and how they can be used in your report. That's all I have for you for today's webinar. Please continue to ask questions in the Q&A or the chat. I will answer them. Yes, there will be a video available of this. So I'll send a follow-up email to all of you. It'll have different areas that you'll be able to take a look at as far as a brochure related to the topic. It will have um, the video YouTube links where you can find other videos as well if you happen to miss one. I do also have this webinar survey as John had posted in the chat as well. If you have the time to complete the survey, it's much appreciated. If you also want to let us know what webinars you're interested in seeing next, please reach out and let us know about that. We do have another webinar already coming up tomorrow, as John had, or not tomorrow, sorry, next week, same time on Wednesday, where we'll be going over permissions and workflow management. So feel free to register for that as well. I am going to stick around for a little bit longer to answer any questions. So please keep them coming. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Uh, Andrew, how can you review what each master page does? So within your report, you are able, as I'd shown earlier, go into the properties, note the template, and you could take a look at the image if there's an image involved in it. Otherwise, if you don't have an image involved, um, you can take a look through your generation of your report and see. And then let's say we went to this one, for example, and I was like, oh, how did this happen? Right? I could go to this document in my report and check the master page applied. Alternatively, chances are your training areas, your training reports have the exact same master pages available. So you could go through and take a look just by print previewing the different master pages in your report. Cindy, yes, I can show you that again. So if you want to compare two snapshots, you are able to click on the three dots, and under generation, you have that compare snapshots option. It will prompt you to select two snapshots. You'll click next. You have to select where you'd like to save the new comparison, and then click compare snapshots. Any other questions from anybody? Hey, Whitney. So unfortunately, my environment right now is not set up to be able to do that. So I won't be able to show you that right now. Sorry about that. Any other questions? No problem. All right. I'm going to close the meeting. If you think of any follow-up questions, please send me an email. I'd be happy to answer them. In the meantime, please take a look at that webinar survey and definitely register for our webinar for next week. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.